You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, in Minnesota, a judge has ruled that the Department of Corrections provided evidence that unidentified safety concerns have arisen in the case of Derek Chauvin. He is the former cop who was the one responsible for the death of George Floyd. Now, this is interesting. The judge is modifying the conditions of his release to allow Chauvin to live either in Minnesota or a neighboring state. The judge also said that Chauvin will have no permanent address in the public court information system, but must report his new address to his conditional release officer, who can share it with the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office Court Security Division, the prosecution, and the defense. He will also be required to keep a cell phone on his person at all times and answer all calls from the Department of Corrections. Of course, Chauvin is the former Minneapolis cop who was the one responsible for the death of George Floyd, kneeling on him for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, suffocating him to death. My panel, Rob Richardson, host of Disruption Now podcast, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Dr. Niambe Carter, Howard University Department of Political Science. What the hell, Rob? Isn't it amazing? Please, just show me an example. Show me an example of a non-cop who gets to leave the state and doesn't have to give their address. This is what is called the system protecting cops when they murder Americans.
Oh, there's no question about that. And I can't name you a case, and I doubt if anybody else could, because it doesn't exist. We have special rights for officers, and we have less rights for African Americans. We know that in this country, and this is part of our battle that we continue to fight. And I've never seen anything like this. This is new. Generally, I've seen cases like this in Cincinnati in terms of we've had officers do. Unfortunately, this is not new. What happened has happened over and over again. But I haven't seen a case where they allow you to leave the state. I mean, that's new. And so they shouldn't have this privilege. He has no right to have this privilege. But herein, this is America. This is what we're fighting for. We're still fighting for our humanity. We're still fighting for a system to make sure that we have the rights that everybody else does. And he shouldn't have any special rights, but we know that they do.
This is, again, Dr. Carter, it just shows you how the system is all about protecting cops, protect them at all costs. The cop who raped the black women in Oklahoma, how they wouldn't even put his location in the state prison system in the database. Okay, excuse the hell out of me if you would have went out there sexually assaulting. No, you're no longer a damn cop. You don't get those protections. This is the kind of stuff, how people say, oh, preferential treatment, and this is how y'all get over it every time.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is, as Rob so eloquently put it, this is something that we've seen over and over again. And I think the message that we keep sending, and this is why people have to say Black Lives Matter over and over again, because you can kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and still expect to get bail and still expect to leave the state and essentially be free to do whatever you want to do, quite frankly. I mean, there's nothing to stop Derek Chauvin from doing this again. But we saw this with Breonna Taylor, right? The officers are only charged. The officer that was only charged with firing bullets recklessly, not murdering this young woman. And I think we know that the price of Black life means nothing when it's a police officer on the other end of that gun or on that other end of that taser or whatever baton or whatever means they have to take our lives. This is disgusting. And we certainly know that this is not going to move the needle on all these conversations people have about Black folks having confidence in the justice system. What justice system? This is an injustice. It's gross. It's a gross miscarriage of justice.
Michael, one of the things that, again, when I think about cases like this, when I think about how these contracts are written where a police officer doesn't have to give an interview for 48 hours or a week. In some cases, they get to actually look at the statements made by other witnesses before they do. And only because Georgia changed the law, for the longest in Georgia, the state law allowed for a police officer before a grand jury to literally sit in the grand jury proceedings, which are supposed to be secret, where even if you are a witness, you can't even bring your own lawyer in. This is the madness that we are trying to fight when it comes to a system that is stacked against victims and is all about making it easy for the cops to get off.
Well, Roland, first of all, thanks for having me, number one. But watch whiteness work. Watch whiteness work. This is what we're looking at. So, and this is an example of how not just elections are so important, but also laws, because politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, policy, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So when we look at this, I was trying to think of a case where they allow a police officer to leave the state, move to a different state in a situation where they killed someone. I couldn't think of one. Okay, I know with Amber Geiger, she left her apartment and moved to maybe a neighboring city or something like that.
No. Well, actually, no. Actually, what happened was, so Collin County is next to Dallas County. Right, and so she turned herself into Collin County authorities versus Dallas County. But remember,
no, she left her apartment. Remember, she left her apartment.
But remember, they let her leave, and she did. And she didn't have to give her witness test. She didn't have to give her her interview to the cops. She got to wait several days, and the Texas Department of Texas Rangers say, "Yeah, we'll catch you later."
Right.
What?
So this all ties into the police officers' contracts, which are negotiated by their unions. Okay, this is why when we deal with this culture of policing and reforming this culture of policing, it's not just the police departments, it's also the police unions, but then this ties into the laws and the contracts that are also signed off on by the members of city council or mayors or what have you. So all of this is connected. So we really have to understand the different parts of this whole to really understand what it is we're fighting. But at the end of the day, things that I tell my listeners are, because, just yesterday, I think it was, he posted $1 million cash bond, or a day before, one of them. And a lot of people were surprised. I said, look, this is all part of the process. I knew it was coming. It took him longer. If it was less money, he would have raised it sooner because the unions raise money for them, et cetera. But in cases like this, because individuals do, absolutely. Individuals do too. But a lot of times the police unions, will raise money for them to help them post bail. So what I tell a lot of my listeners and those on my Facebook fan page is that this like four main things that I focus on when we see these police killings. One, charges. 2, prosecution. 3, conviction. 4, sentencing. You're going to see all these different maneuvers in between that, trying to smear the victim who's dead, things like that. But those are the 4 main things that I really focus on.
Yep. And to add to that, Roland, because he made a lot of good points, I just want to say process, because he kind of hit on this, but the process before you even get to that point, because if the contract that's negotiated with the city is in place, it's a collective bargaining agreement. Yes. People don't like to hear this, but there's nothing you can do about it if it's already in place and it's been signed. But that's usually up every 3 years. So you need to know when that contract negotiation is coming up. You need to know about the contents of that contract. And there are some absurd things, like you guys said, like, there are some laws say like they're able to wait 48 hours. All that stuff, we need to know some of that. And you need to talk to your city council person, and they need to make sure that they are testing the limits of these agreements. There's only so much they can do, but they can test the limits, and they rarely have any type of conflict, usually just agree with nothing.
Right. And just very quickly, Roland, if I could, for a few seconds, with all the, I have a lot of respect for those who protest and march, those in Black Lives Matter, civil rights movement, but we have to understand, if the laws are designed to trap us, we have to understand the law better than they understand the law. We need to understand what all the booby traps are, all the pitfalls are. So just like you had Dr. Greg Carl, and just like you have other African-American legal scholars, we have to have these training camps, these boot camps, where we are taught how all this works. So we understand how to navigate it when we're protesters, how we understand how to navigate it also, so we don't get caught up in the system as well.
Absolutely. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, the folks at Seek.com, black-owned company founded by Mary Spio. They, of course, a virtual reality company. You can check out their content at Seek.com, CEEK.com. You can do so, of course, with these VR headsets. You can look at it, of course, on your regular device or your pad or your computer. But if you want to experience being in the room, you can use this headset right here. All you simply do is just pop in your cell phone in here, pop it on, and then put this headset on, and you can literally experience their content in virtual reality. And so allows for you to do a 360-degree view of the room. But also, folks, they have the 360-degree 4D headphones right here. These are Bluetooth headphones. They have complete surround sound in terms of as you hear the particular music. Gamers love them as well when they're playing their games. And so it's just phenomenal bass in these headphones as well. You can get one or both devices at Seek.com using this promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP 2020. So we certainly thank the folks at Seek.com for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered.